Calling all presses, calling all presses. We have the first trailer for The Iron Claw. Ricky Flicks, we could not wait a whole week for the checkup and to talk about this upcoming A24 release. We finally have a release date, December 22nd. We have a movie starring Zac Efron, Jeremy Allen White, Holt McCallany, Harris Dickinson, Lily James. We got a story on the famous Von Erichs, the wrestling family. Ricky, I call for this emergency pod because this is my most anticipated movie of the year, aside from Killers of the Flower Moon. I've been awaiting this trailer ever since I saw that still of Zac Efron looking ripped as hell, jumping across the wrestling mat. I'm so excited for this trailer, Ricky Flicks. What kind of emotions were going through your mind once you saw this trailer finally?
Yeah, I will say I was starting to get nervous. Last checkup, I definitely was on the nervous bandwagon a little bit, saying, "Why haven't we got a trailer yet? We've only gotten two images. We haven't even gotten a poster. Like we're only 2 months away. What's going on?" Well, literally that less than 5 days later, we have a trailer and poster. So it was more relief, to be honest, because it does look good. This does look good. I think it's something where the professional wrestling world I'm not too akin to, but I've always been fascinated with. And there's not a lot of really good movies out there, related to this. You have like the one with Florence Pugh and The Rock. God, I can't even think what it's called.
Oh, that was Florence Pugh's breakout role.
Yeah, I forget what it's called. It's not Fighting with My Family, but
it's something like that. They're in the same family.
All right, now I got to look this up. It is Fighting with My Family.
Okay.
Vince Vaughn's in that. Jeez. Steve Merchant. But yeah, no, this is definitely a world where we need some movies in, because it's a huge, like you talk about WrestleMania and how big that is. Why aren't there huge box office movies related to this when we have all these other sports movies? And I'll tell you another thing, Dr. O. It's been a weak year for sports movies. Right? We've just had the White Man Can't Jump reboot, which was a disaster. And besides that, that's it. I guess Air, if you want to count that, but it's not really, I don't know, it's more the business side of it.
This sports is like DNA.
Yeah, this is like you're getting into the weeds. We're going to see some wrestling here, if not some, a lot. And yeah, I'm really excited for it with a huge cast, like you mentioned.
So many parts of this trailer got me even more jacked to see this movie. And you could easily just point to the obvious. The soundtrack is going to rip. We had Don't Fear the Reaper and Tom Sawyer being thrown in here.
Tom Sawyer
captures the 70s aesthetic. Great needle drops for the trailer. I love the look of this movie. And Tom Sawyer is actually a very important song to this family because it was the entrance song for one of these wrestlers. So that was very, I guess, carefully picked, right? Or obviously picked heading into this December 22nd release.
1981 song.
And you know what also grabbed my attention, Ricky Flex, why I felt a connection to this movie immediately is that this movie's obviously, it's going to talk about the tragedy and the curse of the Von Erich family, where the Holt McCallany's character is the father, passed away in 97, but he had 5 of his 6 sons predecease him. And tragic story where his firstborn accidentally was drowned in a puddle at the age of 6. And then you have multiple suicides that come following. And I won't go any more spoilers here, Ricky Flex, even though it's like one of the most tragic stories, sports stories that I can think of being put to film. But also what grabbed my attention story-wise is the competitive nature of these brothers. And that was us growing up. Right, minus all this tragedy. But you have that moment where Holt McCallany is sitting at the dinner table ranking his favorite kids, and he says, like, basically, these are power rankings by the week. We're going to have a different kid that's the favorite, depending on how he's feeling, everyone has siblings. They know their parents always say, like, okay, yes, we all love you equally. But there is a sense of special treatment no matter what, And I think this movie – I think this is going to be a driving force for some of the tragedy we see, and also them rising the ranks in professional wrestling. And I can't wait to see all these actors being put to screen here with Zac Efron, a little bit of a bounce back, comeback trail, leading man type of role. Jeremy Allen White coming off of The Bear, right? These last 2 seasons. He's already being almost prematurely hailed as one of the best actors of his generation. I think this is a
Very
great
premature.
step to kind of prove himself. But Ricky Flex, what caught your eye aside from the things I just pointed out, or if you want to build on anything?
Yeah, definitely Holt McCallany. This is going to be like perfect for him. That
Oh,
hard-nosed dad. You know, we see a little bit of Mindhunter, but then the little sensitive side there. And throughout his various roles, he's always been that hard-nosed, just his haircut and look about it. This is where he puts that to the test, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he does it with an all-star cast of sons underneath him, with Zac Efron, Jeremy Allen White, Harry Dickinson. So this is going to be his his main role here. And it reminds me of Bill Camp in Love and Mercy a little bit, the Beach Boys movie with Paul Dano. Hard-nosed dad, definitely going to have some daddy issues here, control issues. And again, when Zac Efron is kind of doing this monologue and he mentions his dad, then Don't Fear the Reaper comes on. It's like, don't fear your dad a little bit, and Holt McCallany. And that's kind of the vibes I got a little bit, saying,
Reaper.
yeah, and like that's the song comes on. I'm like, oh, don't fear his dad.
Dark undertones to that type of symbolism there.
Yeah, like that's again, you're asking for my initial reactions. This is initially what I thought, especially with the dark tragedy or tragic story behind it. That's kind of what comes out of my mind while watching it. Yet this does look great. Like also entertaining, not just tragic. Yes, there's gonna be, you saw like the huge funeral that they kind of they sneak preview of, but besides that, this for the most part there's partying, there was a lot of wrestling scenes here, some brotherly love there as well. So it's still going to be entertaining and fun movie, I think, just with some tragic undertones or themes throughout the movie.
Yeah, definitely going to have some not developments, but there's going to be some inclusions or Easter eggs to the wrestling world. Like I looked at the cast here. We have a couple like lesser known actors that are playing like Ric Flair in the Iron Sheik, and these are like absolute gods for the wrestling world. And that's why it makes me think maybe that's why, because it has like the sports movie stigma to it, that A24 doesn't push this into right the early like award season festivals, like Venice, for example, that just happened a few weeks ago. And that made me wonder, like, is this going to have any award aspirations of any kind? And after seeing this, Ricky Flicks, I have a prediction. And you know how great I am at movie predictions. Shout out creator. I think this movie will not get nominated for Best Picture, right? But I do think we're looking at least one acting nomination from this movie, potentially 2.
Wow.
I think that Zac Efron is not the person that comes to mind when it comes to an Oscar nomination. I think he's going to be the person taking us through this story, right? And that becomes clear if you do some research on the character he's playing. It makes sense why it's going through his eyes. But I think this is where we're going to find out Jeremy Allen White is one of the greatest actors of his generation. Out of all the brothers, he is getting the most shine in this trailer from the dad, who's ranking him first. After he says his name, they do a quick pan to a Jeremy Allen White with the headband, the intense brother that is struggling with his demons. And if you do some background on the history of Jeremy Allen White's character, I believe it's Kevin Von Erich.
Yes.
You will sense the tragedy and the emotional devastation that he is about to portray on screen. I think it's such a juicy Oscar role. So a sports movie A24 supporting actor nomination, to me, it just screams Jeremy Allen White in this scenario. I'll leave my first recommendation there, my first prediction. I just want to get your thoughts on it.
Man, okay, let me just start from the top. Yes, this won't be nominated for Best Picture. Let's just get that out of the way. This might be the best movie not to get nominated for anything. Let me also get that out of the way. This and Air will be competing for that, I think, for movies. The best movie that didn't get nominated for a single Oscar. Because, like, this won't get any technical awards. And the acting awards, yes, I think Jeremy Allen White would be the one to kind of, circle or highlight the potential there. But this is a deep year for acting. This is a very deep year, even with the writer's strike. There's been a lot of movies out. Yes, there was a lot of delays, but there's still a deep category with some big stars, some big A-listers, also on the supporting end. So I won't go that far, but I could see it. And I think that's the only, and I don't think Zac Efron will do enough here in the lead, but he will have to carry some emotional weight to, again, like I said in the last pod, kind of prove it to us. Like this is his prove it role, an athletic role, wrestling, his the physical nature of this role. But can he land the acting, the actual emotions on screen, and kind of continue his career where he won't just be the Baywatch guy, but he could kind of keep dabbling and trying in the dramatic roles like a Ted Bundy or a fire catcher or whatever the Stephen King Peacock movie was. This is going to be the test. And if he passes it, great. But again, non-Oscar aspirations. And I'll just say my last thing is Harry Dickinson. First time I watched the trailer, I was like, he was barely in it. Second time I watched it, I noticed him a little more. He had more lines than I remembered in the first time. I watched it few hours apart. So hopefully, I feel like he's going to be the odd man out here out of those main three, and then Holt McCallany as well. He would be honestly the fourth man here, but he might be the odd man out in screen time. It looks like.
So I'll start with Zac Efron here before I get to the second prediction. Zac Efron, it's interesting because he's had a lot of chances, and he was hailed as like the next great movie star following High School Musical, and hasn't panned out as audiences expected, or even as Zac Efron expected. And he is the lead in a star-studded cast for an A24 movie with a December release. That shows they have a lot of confidence in him. I'm a little nervous with him being the lead after being away from like any type of award-considered movie. I don't think he's ever done a movie this, I guess, important to the awards race, or with such a studio that has such prestige on its name with A24. I am also concerned with the accent. The accent scares me that he's trying to pull off here. However, I love that he's doing like he's complained about like the body transformation that he's gone through, like with his career, having to always stay jacked, like starving himself, changing his diet constantly. I'm ecstatic that he is doing a body transformation movie for something that seems worthwhile, instead of like changing his body for Baywatch to star alongside The Rock and to be like nominated for Razzies. I'm glad it's not Neighbors, where he just takes off his shirt for a couple laughs to be put next to a Seth Rogen. I'm glad he's doing it in a sports movie for A24. And then the second thing I wanted to say, Ricky Flicks, the other nominee that I'm looking at is Holt McCallany. This is the sports movie supporting nomination you kind of see from recent Oscar history. When I look at like I, Tonya, Allison Janney, okay, I think of Melissa Leo in The Fighter. I think Holt McCallany in The Iron Claw. I think it lines up very well. And I think we potentially could have two Best Supporting Actor nominations from the same movie, depending on how the movie performs overall critically. I would say Jeremy Allen White is, if you're going to pick one or the other, we have to obviously see the movie, but I think he's also Holt McCallany dark horse here. And I think he's due for his moment too. I think a lot of people in this industry actually respect Holt McCallany, and that they wouldn't be shocked if he like made this next jump, almost like a J.K. Simmons type of jump.
Man, I lit up a little bit when you said Holt McCallany Oscar nom. The only thing I love it. I think he is respected.
Intense dad.
I think he is respected throughout the industry. Why David Fincher has worked with him multiple times, not just in Fight Club in 1999 or all the way 20 years later in Mindhunter, right? But also other people as well. And this is up his alley, similar to Zac Efron. Like this is the role for him. So if there ever was a role where he would ever get nominated, I'm not saying win, get nominated for, this would be the one. But again, it goes back to the same point with Jeremy Allen White. Will there be enough space? And I don't see it, especially where you're saying your first take is Jeremy Allen White's going to get nominated. Now we got Holt McCallany. Are they going to cancel each other out? Is this movie going to be good enough that there's two Oscar noms, even one? Because again, Sean Durkin, I think I said this when this movie got announced, not necessarily the greatest filmography. He doesn't have an IMDb score above 6.3. So I know it's A24 back. There's a lot of big producers behind it, and this is obviously a great cast. I have a lot of faith in this movie. My thermometer predictor I'll save for later. But I'm just saying, will Sean Durkin, also writing, provide enough depth for each of these characters, and will they cancel each other out? I'm not sure. I'm not sold, but I do love the release date. I do love this trailer, and I love how these roles, like you said, Holt McCallany, perfect at this combative, controlling dad, Jeremy Allen White to bring that depth and emotion, physical presence as well. I love it. I definitely could see it, but it's definitely not the favorite.
Here's the ace in the hole for my prediction, Ricky Flicks. I have a little inside information from the set of this movie. So the remaining Von Erich family, right? The people who knew this father, that Holt McCallany is playing, the descendants, they visited the set, and they had like a redone arena that they performed in right before they hit the big time, and they saw Holt McCallany in character, and the family and Holt McCallany broke down in tears together. It just tells me how emotional this movie is going to be, how much effort's going to be put forth to honor the legacy of a tragic, almost some say cursed family, right? So I think like there is a lot invested by these actors. I think that came across pretty clearly in this trailer. So that's why I'll just throw that last portion out there, Ricky Flex. But any other final thoughts on the Iron Claw? Is this do you have the same sentiment as I do, where is this your second most anticipated movie the rest of 2023?
No, that would be The Killer, David Fincher.
Good call.
I'm sorry, but
I think after this, because I initially thought the same thing, and then I saw this trailer, I'm like, damn, I cannot wait for this movie.
Yeah, it goes. There's a tier 1. The Killer is number 2 behind Killers of the Flower Moon. Then there's a tier 3, a tier 2, where it's the Bike Riders, and then the Iron Claw, and then Napoleon's around there as well. But you can't discount David Fincher. If he has a movie coming out, it's similar to Scorsese or Nolan. That's just always rises above. You know, what's the term? Like the cream always rises to the top. That's what it is. But this does look good.
Two mice got stuck in a bucket of cream.
Again, I'm not a wrestling fan, but I am. My last point here before we get to the predictions here, I am a little nervous about the box office because, again, it's going to be coming out the same time as Aquaman, same time as Ferrari, same weekend. I think Ghostbusters is still on for that weekend as well, and Rebel Moon. So I'm just there's a Netflix release. So there's a lot of movies coming out that weekend for a movie that's an 80s wrestling movie where wrestling wasn't as big as it is today, and it's also about a tragedy. Look at what Foxcatcher did. Big story, obviously big people. Channing Tatum, Steve Carell was nominated. Go to your case, nominated. And Mark Ruffalo during his prime. Yeah, yes, I know your Oscar predictions looks better now, but again, better people behind that movie. But whatever. To my final point,
A24
point is I'm nervous that this won't get enough box office, and that will also hurt it. I hurt your box office prediction as well. I'm sorry, Oscar prediction as well. But we shall see.
And A24, to close out here, A24 made an announcement also that they're looking to expand into making more commercial films, and they're looking for more action and big IP projects. And that comes on the same day. This quote hits the waves on the same day as this trailer. I think they're very confident that it's going to come across the way they intend. And that's also why I am unbelievably excited. But like, what do you think about the idea of A24 expanding? And they're already producing so many movies each year, and they are consistent. They are the studio at the Oscars at the moment. And Ricky Flex, are you interested in seeing more like IP type of projects, action type of projects, commercial from A24?
God, it kind of goes to my argument with The Boys and Gen V. I don't mean to bring up a parallel to the checkup again, but Gen V is literally what The Boys make fun of, but it works, and they're doing it. Like Prime is doing it, where they're making a franchise and spin-offs around their initial IP, where they make fun of that, where like Marvel does and any Disney project does and whatnot. A24 essentially would be doing that with this, and I think it goes against their brand and their vision. But similar to Gen V, I think it's going to work. It's going to work.
Yeah.
And it's going to rock. So It'll definitely have its like some hiccups, I think, but they'll adapt fairly quickly because A24 is no longer an independent studio. Their indie status is gone. They are huge and they have bigger budgets. Like I think we talked about this. I forget which movie it was last year that came out, but it had like a $50 million budget or more.
Beau's
Like
Afraid.
was it? Oh yeah, was it Beau's Afraid? 30 million, 50 million,
That was the
whatever it was.
largest. I think it was like $41 million. It's the biggest budget they've had for a film.
So they're no longer a small studio. They are big. And they're not in the top 6, but they're like probably 10th, probably I would say. So it makes sense to make this natural next step, make more money. Everyone wants to work with them anyways. So no, hats off to them. Good luck. But again, it's just that Gen V kind of the boys feel to it.
I see what you're saying, and I kind of hope that A24 is not going to lose their charm. You know what makes them so special? It's like when like Mark Zuckerberg is saying like it's not cool yet. You know, like you can't start
Right.
selling ads. I don't want them to lose that coolness factor. Don't fix what ain't broke. So any type of change kind of scares me. But we'll see what happens. I have no reason to doubt them. I think they've already kind of like lent towards bigger budget like you're talking about. They have the X trilogy coming. They have the prequel with Pearl, right? We got Maxine coming out later. I think it's just like building towards that bigger IP
Step by step.
commercial projects. Okay. That's going to do it for our quick trailer roundup. Oh,
thermometer predictor.
Okay. All right, let's take out the thermometer predictor, Ricky Flex. What do you think the Iron Claw is going to be hitting on Rotten Tomatoes?
All right, I just looked up quickly. Foxcatcher, just the box office, made $12 million domestically, 19 worldwide. I will go with the over here for a box office prediction for A24. A24 is the Iron Claw, but not with confidence.
Efron and Jeremy Allen White. Jeremy Allen White's the biggest
Steve
TV
Carell,
show star in the world.
Ruffalo, Channing Tatum at this time. Remember, what was it? 2014? Like
test for Efron. See if he still has a star appeal.
But I'll go with the over. And Rotten Tomatoes, I have hopes. I'm going 88.
Wow. I'm going with
Durkin. This is bold for me. Durkin needs to prove himself here.
I'm thinking 82%. Right? I think it might just be really depressing for a lot of people to watch that don't understand the Von Erich curse.
The audience score could be like 63.
We shall see, Ricky Flex. That's a good way to wrap up today's trailer roundup. Make sure that you stay tuned to the YouTube, right, for trailer reactions just like this. Make sure you like the video. Make sure you comment on the video and we'll comment back. Make sure you are subscribed and tell your friends.